significant are the measures here in Germany?
Well, Matt, I'm not sure if I would call them a game changer, but they do show that Germany's taken this idea of whatever it takes to protect German companies and the broader European economy seriously. You're looking at 150 billion euros in new spending. This is financed by new money. These are not old measures. This is really Germany going to tap in markets in new borrowing. And this is, as you know, something that has always been so politically toxic for Germany, but they're willing to go that way. You have to factor to the fact that they've already said they would be willing to put 400 billion euros in loan guarantees and potentially 200 billion euros in loans to protect and safeguard liquidity for companies. I would also say, though, the story is not just in Germany now. What I thought was very interesting this weekend, the Spanish Prime Minister now openly, very explicitly calling for Corona bonds, saying this is something that will be needed and no country is going to be able to deal with the fallout from the coronavirus crisis on their own. It's very significant because we know that this was happening behind the scenes, but now you have someone, an actual leader, coming out and saying, my country wants Corona bonds.
All right, Spain, meanwhile, pushing for Corona bonds there. So in your native country, how likely is that?
Well, I'm not sure how likely that is to happen, but what I think, Matt, that really is actually significant is the fact that the Prime Minister was willing to go there. It also signals that this was a very difficult weekend for Spain. The cases just went through the roof. They've escalated so much in the space of a week, and we know that that is going to hurt economically. The industry is going to obviously hurt from that, and we're expecting that lockdown to be extended beyond the actual date now to April 11th. So what I do think is happening now is the government, of course, is looking at that picture and knowing that this is going to be devastating for the economy. A recession probably that is guaranteed now, and they're saying we need to safeguard the economy in a bigger picture, and that means Corona bonds, which again, politically, very toxic.
All right, Maria, thanks very much. Let's get over to Annmarie Hordern in New York. Annmarie, where do we stand in terms of the economic damage done by these government-imposed measures and the kind of bailout that the government can then give us?
Good morning, Matt. Well, it's definitely an agreement that they need to spend this $2 trillion, but they just don't agree on the details. And yesterday we saw that when the Democrats blocked this Senate bill, this procedural vote that would have taken it to the next level. And the main crux of the argument was this $500 billion, this chunk that would go to corporations like airlines, which we've seen really hard hit due to the pandemic. And Senator Chuck Schumer just said this is another corporate bailout. Matt, we spoke about this last week, similar to 2008 with General Motors. Everyone was calling government motors. This was going to be highly political and definitely controversial. Schumer, along with other senators on the Democrat side, are saying more money should go to state and local governments, should go to things like hospital aid, ventilator aid, etc. But now this leads question into what happens to this bill and the timeline. And already yesterday, Mitch McConnell was pointing to the fact that because they didn't act on this, you already are seeing it play out in the markets. We saw that already with U.S. stock futures hitting limit down, Matt.
Which they seem to do every day anyway, right. Annmarie. I mean, so what? We get McConnell is going to bring this back to the floor, I believe, 15 minutes after the market opened this morning.
Yeah, he said maybe there'll be a change of heart after the U.S. equity markets open at 9:30. So he said, let's have a vote at 9:45. There's been a lot of discussions overnight. But Nancy Pelosi was saying that she's going to work with the House to come up with their own bill. So there's still a lot of questions on it. And then, Matt, to add to the drama we've just seen in D.C., Ron Paul was got tested positive for coronavirus. He had met a number of senators throughout the week. So Ron Paul, alongside Mitt Romney, as well as Mike Lee, these other senators are actually in quarantine. So it's just adding to more pressure and to more questions about where this bill stands. He is a third lawmaker in D.C. to actually test positive for the virus, which means more and more lawmakers are actually having to stay inside and quarantine if they were in contact with any of them.